Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. Are you trying to master the game of life without success? There are secrets and strategies to living your best life. We'll share some of them with you on today's show. Take advantage of this series to become an expert at relationships. All relationships. It's time to live the life that you deserve to live. Now, here's your host, Sandra Reish.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. I'm very excited to be here with you today because we're talking about a topic that is very dear to my heart. Really, my entire adult life, when you think about it, has been trying to help people live their best lives and try to apply what I've learned in my own life because it wasn't always great. And there are really secrets. Like I say in the opening segment, there are secrets to living your best life. So today we're going to talk about love. But before I go to such a specific topic, I want to talk about the theme song here. If you read about what the show was going to be about today, one of the things was that our unconscious mind and our conscious mind do not always say the same messages. So what do I mean by that? Let's say it's happened to me many times. A client comes to my office and says, I'm dying to get married. And I go, oh, okay, I understand that, no problem. What happens when I see that they keep choosing, this happened to me with a real client many, many years ago, they kept choosing somebody who lived in very far away countries. And as the show is called Straight Talk with Sandra Reish, I am a Straight Talk with Sandra Reish therapist. So at one point I had to say to the client, no, you don't want to get married. And she looked at me in shock. She said, what are you talking about? I spend every minute of my life thinking about how much I want to get married. How could you say something to me like that? So we had to talk about the fact, and this is what I really want to talk about today, is that sometimes we say we want something, but our behavior is not consistent with what we want. So you have to tell yourself the truth, and your behavior always tells you the truth. So in the case of someone who says they want to get married, when they're constantly saying that they want to get married, but they're choosing someone in faraway countries or unavailable men or unavailable women, the truth says they don't want to get married. So that's an example of what I want to talk about today. So I had to call up somebody very special and ask her to come be on the show. And she's going to be joining us in our second segment. We got the sassy psychologist in the house. Okay, so sassy psychologist Anna Maria Tosco actually works at the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression, and I will be giving a proper intro soon. But the reason I called her up to come on the show today is because she likes to talk a lot about how, even in her blog, Sassy Psychologist, that people who say they're looking for love aren't always looking for love, much like the example I gave on marriage. Now, if you're listening right now and you're like, well, that's not me. I'm not looking to get married. I am married. This is not an issue. How about when you say you want to go to the gym? Do you really want to go to the gym? Or is that what you say to yourself? So one of the tricks of life I really feel, and really what I want to highlight today, is that for change to happen, you have to tell yourself the truth. And my truth in my head and my truth behaviorally are not always the same thing. So in my head, I say I want to go to the gym, I want to be physically fit, I want to eat tons of broccoli, I want to do everything right. But my body, on the other hand, might be watching reality TV and eating brownies. Okay, now what most people do is when they're eating the brownies and watching reality TV is they sort of push that away and they go back to the thought that they want to go to the gym and they want to eat broccoli and they want to be physically fit. But the problem is they're not telling themselves the truth. So here's my question. Why are they not telling themselves the truth? And I want to answer that. Okay, think about it if you're listening. Why don't we tell ourselves the truth? This is a very important psychological question. Why don't we tell ourselves the truth? And I have the answer for you. We don't tell ourselves the truth because the truth is not always pretty. So the truth may be that I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to be physically fit. I don't want to eat broccoli. I want to eat brownies and I want to watch reality TV because I work a lot of hours and I'm tired. But that doesn't fit with who I want to be. Who I want to be is this person who lives their best life and goes to the gym and so on and so forth. So I have to play a game in my mind at that. I have to tell myself one story, live another story, and somewhat almost be victimized by myself. So I want to break this down a little bit. Why is it so important to tell the truth? Because if I were to say, you know what, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to be physically fit. I want to eat brownies. There'd be a part of me that would say, no, I want to be physically fit. But that's interesting because then I can wrestle and I can go, okay, hold on. How badly do I want to go to the gym? How badly do I want to get married? How badly do I want to reach that next level in my career? And then I have to look at that. Maybe if I'm not doing it behaviorally, maybe I don't want it as bad as I say. And then I got to show myself some compassion because that's okay. Maybe I don't want to be the world's fittest person. Maybe I would like to do exercise once in a while. No problem. I can renegotiate. But if I don't tell myself the truth, I can't renegotiate. And what's going to keep happening is I'm going to keep telling myself I want to go to the gym and be fit, and I'm going to keep not doing it. And I'm going to keep using excuses. I'm busy. Let me give a personal example. So many years ago, I was in private practice, and I decided that I would like to open a clinic. I may have even told this story before, and some people listening might know it. So I was sitting in my office, and I would say over and over again that I want to open a clinic, and I need to find an office. And every day, I swear, Straight Talk listeners, I would forget to call anywhere to find an office. So after about 2 weeks of doing this, maybe 3, and honestly, I do want to say I'm saying it to my people here, I really did, quote unquote, forget. But I know this trick that I'm teaching you today. So what I did is I said to myself, what's going on? And I said, my one part of my brain said, nothing. I forgot. I just forgot. And the therapist part of my brain said, I don't buy it. You don't forget things that are important to you. What's really going on? Could it be that you're afraid? And my ego went, I'm not afraid. Why would I be afraid? And I went, the therapist part of my brain, I know this sounds very schizophrenic, excuse the expression, but sometimes we have to try to look at our many ways of thinking and to find the truth. The other part of my brain went into, okay, there's something going on. Would you admit there's something going on if you consistently forget something for 3 weeks in a row? And I couldn't really argue with that because if I really want to find an office, why wouldn't I call? So that part of my brain said, okay, if it's really not fear and if it's really nothing else, why don't you call right now? Call a place right now. And I felt the resistance come. So I found out in that moment, I guess I am scared. Maybe I feel I'm successful as a therapist. Why push my luck? So I dialed the phone, and P.S., by the way, the number I called is where I'm at today. It's this exact office that we're filming in right now. But it would have gone on and on and on if I would not have told myself my behavior and my words are not adding up. I am saying I want to open a clinic, but I'm forgetting week after week to look for an office. So I want you to be curious. Be curious about the things you say you want. What have you done lately towards your goal? If it is about love, and today we're going to talk about love, Anna Maria is going to come on and blow us away with her brilliance. And she's going to talk about how people sabotage their love lives. And we're going to talk together about the messages that we send, even people in love relationships, how sometimes you can be in a love relationship and you say you want your partner's attention, but you are doing things that are going to stop them from paying attention to you. And you don't realize you're doing it. So it becomes very interesting to have, I guess you could call it a take-home therapist on your shoulder, a lot cheaper than therapy too, to question yourself. That's what us therapists do, is we say things a lot like, oh, that's interesting that you didn't call for the office. We say that so that you'll think about why you didn't do it. So if you're in a love relationship or you're looking for love and you're thinking to yourself, why is it not working out for me? Your first step is definitely going to be what I've been talking about, is to look at, is your behavior consistent with what you say you want? I'm going to give another example. I've had a busy week here at the center. I've seen many couples. In every couple I saw this week, I would say almost everyone, I saw situations where a partner wanted something from their partner, but they did not say what they wanted. They may have set up the partner to definitely, and we're going to talk with Anna Maria how you might be doing that, how they definitely actually unconsciously sent the message to their partner to do the exact opposite of what they want, which then led, and I don't want to be too esoteric here, so let me break it down to you. So example, I want my husband to be very romantic with me and pay a lot of attention to me, but I'm always busy when I'm at home. I'm not available. Interesting. Am I really, and I'm not asking for him to pay attention, so I'm busy, so he thinks to himself that he's going to give me my space. He thinks he's being really nice. And I'm thinking, he doesn't love me, because if he loved me, he'd be paying attention to me. So, one of the things that Straight Talk is all about, and everything I do is about, is that there's great freedom in taking responsibility. It's scary as heck. So I'm basically asking that you take responsibility for your part of the dance in love, your part in any behavior or habit that you wanted to form and you were not able to. But I'm going to give you something in return, I'm going to give you the ability to change your life. Now, why do I say that? Because if I'm relying on someone else, my husband, he has to pay attention to me, and I'm not going to ask him for it. I'm just going to be really busy and wait for him to do it. Then he gets all the power. So a lot of you are going to say, but I don't want to have to say to someone what I want. And I'm going to ask you, why not? Why don't you want to say to someone what you want? If you want to get a behavior from someone else, what would be wrong for asking for it? So the romantics are going to say, or might say, if he really loved me, or if she really loved me, he or she would know. No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. I just came back from a couples retreat, and one of the things we know in research is people give the gift they want to receive, not the gift you want. As a matter of fact, if you ever want to find out what someone wants to receive, look at the gift they give you. That's what they want. So your partner often is going to give you space because that would be a beautiful gift for them, but it's not a beautiful gift for you. So we have to consider the messages we send people to review. We have to look at taking responsibility. And we have to look at how we sabotage ourselves unconsciously. What is something that you are dreaming of? Every week at the end of the show, I ask you to keep your eyes on the stars. Take a moment right now and think about something that you want. Is it lose 10 pounds? Is it get more physically fit? And you guys in the room too, think about this. Is it build your career to the next level? Make more money? Which one of those appeals to you? And I'm going to ask you, after you think about the question, I'd like you to take what I'm telling you on Straight Talk today, and when Anna Maria joins us, and ask yourself, is your behavior reflective of your desire? So going forward, if you say, for example, you'd like to make more money, what is the plan? What are you doing about it? What's the plan? So if you want to meet that special someone, Anna Maria's in the room. If people want to meet someone special, and Anna Maria's going to talk about that, but they're staying home all the time, or they're very cold on when they meet somebody, do they really want to meet someone? How about when they find something wrong with everyone they meet? Now, I'm not saying every blind date should go well. I've heard some terrible stories. But I am saying that if your behavior is not consistent with your desire, you are sabotaging your love life. You are sabotaging your exercise life. You are sabotaging your fitness or making more money. Okay? Again, if I say to myself, I want to make more money, my next question has to be, how? And then I have to check if I do it. Now, here's the problem. Here's the conflict, is that the ways to make more money are probably going to take me out of my comfort zone. The ways to meet that special someone are going to take me out of my comfort zone. And losing weight and eating more greens, that's all going to take me out of my comfort zone. So now I'm asking you, as your homework before we take a commercial break, and we'll be back with Anna Maria, I'm asking you to write down your goal What is it you want to work on? And then I want you, and you can write to me at info@helpforanxietydepression.com during the week and let me know, what did you do this week towards meeting your goal? And if you notice that you forget, then you need to have a talk with yourself. What's really going on here? Maybe you're not as comfortable at making more money or finding that love or building your career or losing weight as you think you are. Now, you might have the thoughts, how could that be? Well, the great Marianne Williamson says, we're not afraid of our failures, we're afraid of success. It can be scary. So let's take a moment now to sort of breathe that in and think about what's on your mind. You can call us, you can write to us. What's on your mind? How do you want to change your life? And if you did tune in today for love, we're going to have a great discussion about love life, whether you're with a partner or whether you'd like to meet someone. I've got Anna Maria coming on the other side of the break, and we're going to talk about how you might be sabotaging your life love life without even realizing it. We'll be right back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Spa Munari is a full-service wellness day spa located at the heart of West Island, Quebec. Submerge yourself in beauty with one of our many treatments, specially catered to your needs. We offer facials, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, massages, body treatments, and so much more. Enjoy our ultimate relaxation experience with our spa packages. We offer a men's menu as well. Call us today to book your next appointment at 514-695-5040 or visit us on the web at spamunari.com. That's 514-695-5040 or spamunari.com.
A fresh look at today's health. Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
We're back with Straight Talk, and we're having a lot of fun today. We're trying a few new things. A few colleagues of mine filmed their radio shows, and I thought that was so brilliant. So we're filming today. We're going to put it up on the Facebook if you want to see what goes on behind the scenes. And we're here. So we're here with Anna Maria, and we're going to introduce her. And Robert's here with us, our manager, filming. And we're just having a really good time. And we want to reach out to everybody who's supported the show. So Anna Maria Tosco has been on Straight Talk before, and we've absolutely loved having her. And I want to talk about who she is a little bit. So first of all, I'm just so happy that she's here. Anna Maria Tosco is our sassy psychologist. She's also known as our sassy psychologist. She works here at the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression. She has 2 master's degrees in the field of psychology and has studied and worked coast to coast. She has worked in both psychiatric and community settings in some of Montreal's most respected healthcare organizations and institutions, and has also given a variety of talks and workshops on neuroplasticity, meditation, and uncovering barriers to love. Now, that's the official bio. What I want to say about her is she is an expert on love. And what I love about that, she's an expert on many things, is that Anna Maria has been very honest with me and during many talks about how she applied what I talked about in the first segment, these theories of the unconscious mind sabotaging her in her own love life.
Absolutely.
A lot. Mm-hmm. So welcome back to Straight Talk, Anna Maria.
Thanks for being here. Sandra Reich. It's always a good time. We're having a lot of fun already.
Yeah. So I saw you writing feverishly during the first segment. What were you thinking during that segment?
Listen, you always have that effect on me. You know
really?
That. Yes.
I like that.
I loved all the examples you were giving, and I also loved the exercise. I really wonder how people are doing with that. I'd love to get feedback, but sabotaging.
Yeah, what about that? And what about that in love?
Right.
Why would anyone ever sabotage themselves in love? Like, we love love.
Yeah, don't we?
Yeah. So how could it be?
It's so funny because I know before you were saying, you said it perfectly about avoiding successful relationships. Why? Right?
Right.
Avoiding failure, avoiding anxiety, avoiding fear, avoiding all of those uncomfortable feelings that you probably had before at some point. You know how many clients I see who come in and they say, oh, my girlfriend did me wrong. We lived together. I shouldn't have bought a house with her. So now I'm never buying a house with anybody ever again. And it's such a shame because, it was an instance. It happened. It was terrible. And you have to grieve about it. But, you shouldn't sabotage, the future and upcoming relationships, perhaps.
But is that sabotage? Is that sabotage?
Well, listen, if you get into another relationship and, you're basically like, I don't know, should we move in? I'm not sure. Yeah, I would say could very well be. What do you think?
I actually 100% agree. And I think that it sets up because it's a new partner. So the new partner is like, why won't he or she buy a house with me? Mm-hmm. And so it sets up a whole bunch of stuff. The stuff that will cause like the in-between, all the in-between. The in-between is an important part of a relationship, the things that aren't said, but the stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like working on your wounds first, one of the things that we both, agree on, I think, is mending the hurt first. Before getting into a relationship or before, if you are sabotaging, you have to mend the hurt first.
Okay, so what do you mean by mend the hurt? You mean from previous relationships, if you have hurt, you have to have worked through it or you're going to bring it to your next relationship. I suspect you mean that.
Absolutely.
Good.
Do you see that with your clients?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. And sometimes it even goes as far back as childhood. Sometimes it's not your previous relationship, it's your childhood.
Yes.
I mean, my couple retreats are all about that. Mend the hurt of your childhood or you're going to replay it. I guarantee it. Money back guarantee.
Absolutely. And about those couples retreats, by the way, I refer some of my clients to them and they're just floored because of that, though. So many people don't realize that the things that did happen to them in their childhood do affect them in adulthood. And you always say, Sandra, you say this. You basically say, nobody had a perfect childhood.
No.
And some people say, my childhood was fine. When you do an assessment or you do an evaluation. Those
worry me the most.
Yeah. Because so many people don't realize that, maybe that affected me. What happened in grade 3 with Mrs. Jones, who called me stupid one day.
I think you bring up such a good point. So I'm going to stay on that for a second because that is a constant problem. Because we live in a world where people have been sexually abused and physically abused and terrible things have happened, I think people who grow up with a fairly quote unquote normal family, they feel that it's very wrong to say that their childhood was anything less than perfect. Yes. And so when they come in and say that, the problem is that there's always a wound. There's always wounds that happen because there is no perfect parenting. I mean, we're parents. We can't live up to that either.
Yeah.
So if you can't acknowledge there was wounding, then you can't repair it. So it's not even me at the workshops. It's the concept in psychology, which is much bigger than me, that those who forget the past are condemned to relive it. Mm-hmm. So we need to isolate the wound. So if you're one of those people who says your childhood was perfect, you do yourself a tremendous disservice because I'm sure it was very good. And I don't want to throw your parents under the bus. But if we can't find out what hurt you, all I have to do is, put me in your house for a few days or a few weeks, and I'll watch your first fight, and I'll find your wound.
Brilliant. And she will too, ladies and gentlemen.
Find your wound.
She will.
You're adorable. But if there's a wound and you know that it's something triggering from the past, then you can repair it.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you brought that up, Anna Maria, because I didn't think of talking about that in the first segment. The concept of I had a perfect childhood because my parents didn't abuse me. So what is it? They were good to me. We were happy people.
Something I want to say about that, though, Sandra, is I preface this work, when I do this with my clients, I preface it with, I'm not in the parent bashing business, because sometimes we don't want to say anything about our parents.
No.
I mean, I love my parents dearly, but I know they're not perfect. And as I grew older, I realized, I'm like, wow, my mom is brilliant here and I love her, but in this area, and it affected me into adulthood. So I preface this work with my clients with, we're not parent bashing, for a lot of my clients, not all of them, okay, because there are some not so good parents out there as well.
Yeah.
But, for people who say, no, I had great parents, they were loving and all that stuff, I preface it with, I'm not parent bashing here, but nobody's perfect. You didn't have perfect caregiving. You did experience flawed caregiving somewhere, be it with your parents, be it with a teacher, be it with like your grade 5 math teacher who said you were inadequate, one day. But you didn't escape flawed caregiving in some capacity. So it's important to kind of go back there and see what happened.
So important. And what I want to say about this, though, is for people listening, if you're like kind of going, I don't know about this, I'm not sure. Here's the test. I like these exercises. So take a moment and think about the last time you went from 0 to 10 in anger very quickly. Okay, so maybe somebody didn't respond to your email and that really triggered you, or someone took too much space in the supermarket, or somebody was indirect with you, or any example where you go from 0 to 10 very quickly. That is your wound. Mm-hmm. That tells you something about your past, because you wouldn't be going from 0 to 10. Not everyone goes to 0 to 10 on the same things. We go to 0 to 10 on different things. So your first point, Anna Maria, is heal the past relationships, mend the hurt, as you say so well. I have a question. Mm-hmm. In the first segment, I talked about clients over the years that tell me they want to get married, okay? And then they choose unavailable people. You heard me talk about that. Have you seen this phenomena? Because this confuses me enormously.
Oh, my God. It's everywhere.
Okay, so what's that all about?
Listen, I think that people's behaviors are the gateway in. So if you are not ready to go there, you're not ready to do therapeutic work, fine, this info is not for you. But if you are ready and you're like, man, I am tired of this. I am tired of bad dates. I do want to get married. I really, really, really do. Really? Okay. You might, but you have to analyze your behavior. Your behavior is the gateway in. So when you're ready to call yourself out on the stuff that you might be doing that's maladaptive, that's not good, that's sabotaging, then we can talk.
Okay, so you're saying that you have to look at your behavior. Once again, we have to look at our behavior. And for everybody listening who, not everyone understands maladaptive, just to be clear, it's like behavior that's not going to bring you to where you want to go. Yeah. So if on dating, Anna Maria, what would be an example of maladaptive behavior?
Sure. So now, again, you have to be willing to look at this. So if you were on a date, this is my favorite thing, because everybody can picture being on a date. Can you picture being on a date?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, right?
They're looking at you in the eyes?
Exactly.
Is there like candlelight?
There might be.
I like candlelight. Could there be candlelight, please,
there could be.
in my fantasy
let's put
here?
Candlelight
Thank
there.
you.
We're putting candlelight there.
Yeah.
Here's the date. So now it's a beautiful exercise. So you are on a date, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it.
Yes.
What are you doing? So we can talk about a few things.
We can talk about.
Can
I be the client?
Yeah, sure.
In this game?
Well, we can talk about eye contact.
Okay.
We can talk about conversation.
Okay.
Let's talk about conversation.
Okay. So can I be the person? Can you ask me what I'm doing?
Of course.
Okay.
You want me to so I'll be.
I want you to see if I'm a good dater. I want you to analyze if I'm a good dater.
Well, listen.
So that people can live vicariously through me.
Sandra Reish, when you are on a date.
Yes.
And your date asks you, what do you do? Wow, haven't heard that one before. But no, your date asks you, hey, what do you do? What do you say? What do you say?
I say I'm the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression. I host a radio show called... No, I answer, right?
Yes, you answer.
Right.
Yes, well, that is the right answer. Yeah. So essentially, you do have to answer.
Right. So I don't do enough about me, let's talk about you.
Exactly.
That's what you're getting at.
I saw a client maybe, a few years ago, I remember quite vividly, and we were talking about her being on a date, and she can't talk about herself. And I mean, forgive the cheesiness. A part of me is like, you have to let your light shine. You have to celebrate yourself, but not like, oh, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful. Like, you know, I do that. Like, I know you want to be more humble than that. I get it. And of course you should be. But when you're on a date and somebody asks you what you do, you have to answer them in a full sentence, with a little bit of eye contact, with a period at the end of your sentence.
So you can't go on and on and
right,
on.
Not go on and on.
Because they don't want to hear 20 minutes about your, like, all the things you do.
Not 20 minutes and not 2 seconds.
Right.
Just tell them what you do, just like Sandra did so brilliantly. I am the.
So I'm date worthy. Yeah. You know, I didn't actually date, so I'm quite curious about this, Anna Marie. I'm not even joking. I don't think I've ever gone on a date.
Oh, let's talk about eye contact. Can you? You know, when you're on a date, can you?
Yeah, well, I do. You know, it's funny you say that because I've been working with a lot of clients lately on eye contact, and I think, and with children, I help parents a lot with that. I was just giving a workshop this week about if there's no eye contact, the eyes are the windows to the soul, so to speak, and it's intimacy, right? So if we can't have eye contact, we're not connecting. How well could the date be going? So I'm guessing in your work with sabotaging love, I'm guessing if you can't maintain any eye contact, that would be a bad sign.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, but it's hard, right? Because a stranger is looking at you.
Yes.
And like if you have insecurities, you're afraid they're going to see them.
Yes. So now you do have insecurities, let's say. So if you're a client of mine, we're talking about looking for love, and you obviously do have insecurities. Wonderful.
And I don't want them to see it.
Check. So now what do? When I'm coaching them, because this does involve a little bit of coaching as well, so if we're talking about dating, so we've worked through their hurt, we know they're insecure, we know what their maladaptive or bad behaviors are on a date. We talk about the fact that anxiety will settle. So when they are on this date, and this person is asking them a question. So, hey, what do? What I talk about with my client is at that moment, you will have a surge of anxiety. You'll be like, holy crap, this is my time. And sometimes my clients say, Anna Maria, you were in my head. I knew it was my test. I knew it was my time to shine. I'm like, yes, you know, and you have all of this anxiety, but so you have to push through it. Push through that anxiety, respond, that displays beautiful self-esteem, self-respect. Even if you have to fake it till you make it the first couple of times, I don't care, I'll take it. Full sentence, period at the end. Tell them what you do. Let your light shine. Excuse the cheesiness, but there it is.
Right. So I think it's actually not cheesy. I think we have to let our light shine. So what about this unconscious stuff that I talked about? Like, let's get back to it a little bit. I wonder when you heard the first segment, this idea that our unconscious mind has a different plan than our conscious mind. Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, I am, definitely. So now we have to realize that not everybody buys this idea of the unconscious, but we do have unconscious fears. And these unconscious fears come from threatening things or things from the past that we want to push away. So what happens is our unconscious says, oh my God, I don't want to go back there. So then we sabotage. So the unconscious is very much involved.
Okay. Yeah. So the unconscious mind may not feel that we're worthy of love, for example. So if we had parents who, implied that we would never, amount to anything or be worthy of love, not lovable.
Yes.
Which, again, unfortunately, those messages can be very subtle. They're not always apparent. So we're clear. This is not always a parent walking up to you and saying you're not worthy of love, because we'll be back to people who are saying they had a perfect childhood because no one ever said that. It's not usually stated so directly. It's subtle. We do send messages to our kids that are subtle and sometimes give the idea that they're not good enough.
Yeah.
They internalize it. And so, I'm glad you said that we're not in the business of parent bashing, because I always tell people it's also perceptive, meaning if I believe that I got the message from my parents that I wasn't something enough, it doesn't even mean that they did that. It means that's how I perceived it. And that's all that counts. So if you feel guilty saying anything about your childhood, lose the guilt. It's your perception and it's okay. Let's work with that.
Yeah.
So if I got the message I'm not lovable or worthy, am I going to choose someone who's going to treat me in a lovable, worthy way? No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Beautiful.
Because I need to prove myself right.
Yeah, this the concept of internalization is so important in psychology. Do you teach it with your clients?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. We have to always look at what's the story we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
What's the story? And I know you're big on that too.
Yeah,
what's the story you're telling yourself? So even if you're listening right now, what's the story you tell yourself about you?
Yeah.
Is it a story of I love, like you said, shine your light? I say be a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you feel you're lovable? Do you feel you're worthy right now? That's the question we're asking here today. Are you lovable? Are you worthy? Wouldn't that be an important question before a date?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They would have to, like, I tell my clients that they have to prep. They have to prep. Like,
Yeah.
their self-esteem before a date. You have to go through all of the tools. You have to go through all of the things we practiced in session before you go on this date,
Anna Maria, we're going to take a short break in a minute, but I'm going to leave with a teaser here. So I'll ask you this question. We still have a minute before the break of boundaries. Do you think boundaries are important before that first date? Because I do. Do you think they're important?
Very mindful of your boundaries before going on a date or being in a relationship.
Why?
Because otherwise you are disrespecting yourself if you don't have them.
So this is a little bit where the teaser comes in. So I get dressed up. I put my makeup on. I'm going to do my eye contact. I've decided I'm shining my light. I feel like a diamond. This, by the way, could be a date with my husband even.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
it doesn't
yes.
have to be a new person, okay? And I get to the date, okay, with my husband or the new man in my life, and I have my boundaries, and I'm on this first date or this romantic date night with husband, and the person's looking at their phone the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anna Maria, I'm going to give you a few minutes.
Sure.
We're going to take a break, and I want to come back for you to tell people, what on earth do I do? This is Straight Talk. We'll be right back.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness. Your life, your health, your network. This is Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
We can't stop. We're back. God, the time is spent very fast. Anyways, I was just saying on the break, I guess you heard me. God, the time is going fast. We're back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. So we left with the brilliant Anna Maria Tosco from sassypsychologist.com with the question. I'm on a date with a new guy or with my husband, and he is looking at his cell phone the whole time I'm there. Where do boundaries come in? What do I do? And are boundaries important, or do I just say, you know what, it's okay? What do I do, Anna Maria?
Okay. Ultimately, now you have to be honest with yourself. What do you need? What do you want? So I'm going to ask you, Sandra Reish. You're on a date with someone.
I don't want to be watching somebody on their phone. I know that much.
Yep. So listen, you have a few choices. You can be direct and you can tell the person in the moment if you'd like to. Or
what would I say?
Well, let's see.
I know what I would say, but I'm asking you.
Well, the reason why I'm hesitating a little bit is because not everybody is necessarily comfortable with as much directness.
No, if they don't want to say, we have other alternatives. But if I were to say something, if it's with my husband, what could I say?
I don't appreciate the fact that you're on your phone. I was looking forward to this date.
Could I also, yeah, great. So could I also say, listen, if you have a whole bunch of calls to do, let's meet up at another time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another option. And now if it's your first date, for example, and you're just not impressed, then that's it. The boundary has been created. You cannot see this person again.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you said that. I didn't know if you'd take such a hard stance. Yeah. I would, because it doesn't get better than the beginning. So if it really doesn't. So if because it's like a job interview, right? People are on their best behavior on their first date. Mm-hmm. So if on the first date somebody's looking at a phone and he's gorgeous and has beautiful white teeth and a great body, it's just not going to cut it because it's not going to get better than this. So on a first date, if I have to tell you get off the phone, that's probably not a good sign unless I want to date someone who's not so available.
Right.
Seems unlikely.
Yes. I mean, your unconscious might be like, yes, he's perfect.
Feels like home.
Yeah. Feels like
home.
Dad. Feels like perfect. Yeah. Beautiful,
feels
Sandra.
like dad. Yeah. Dad wasn't around. He's even sexier.
I love that you said that, Sandra. Feels like dad. Because there's something else that I wanted to talk about today if we got around to it. And it's essentially, you say feels like dad. It's because, and we learned this at some point, perhaps under your supervision even, that...
Oh, thank you.
It's true. That our reward systems fire when we meet people who remind us of our parents. Now, listen, you might buy it, you might not, but here's the logic. The logic there is your pleasure systems, your reward systems fire because your parents, on some level, are your first loves.
That's right. They are.
So your parents are your first love. So now listen, again, nobody's parents are perfect. So let's say you did have a dad who was busy a lot of the time or was preoccupied with something else, or at least that's how you felt.
Yeah.
But when you meet somebody who does the same kind of thing, then you will be attracted.
It feels like home.
Yeah, it feels like home.
As a matter of fact, you'll be very attracted.
Yeah. So
it's strange. Like we joke around, my sister and I. It's a personal example. We go to a party or something. I mean, I'm happily married,
right.
But we always joke if we were at a party, tall, dark, and emotionally distant. That feels like home for us.
That's so funny.
Yeah, we do say that. Tall, dark, and emotionally distant.
I wish everybody would be that open.
Cute. He's cute. It's not as flagrant as the phone.
Right.
Okay, but it reminds us of a lot of what we grew up in. It's not a diss on my parents, but that's the kind of sort of the first love affair.
Yeah.
First love affair.
And I want to validate that even more because it's not only psychological, but it's physiological. We're talking about dopamine. We're talking about neurotransmitters.
Yeah, the crack cocaine of the brain.
That fire.
Yeah.
And shock. You're attracted to somebody who reminds you of your dad. Yeah. That'll happen.
Yeah. So the thing is, I remember reading years ago that we have to be careful about that because I remember reading in a book, and it was a very good book, actually. It was called Reinvent Your Life. And in the book, it said when you get my clients laugh when I do that, the kind of like the, oh my God, I've met my soulmate. The book suggests that perhaps that's not even the right one. That's what the book suggested because it's almost so intense that it's like your wounds are dancing together.
Right.
So this is beyond the phone. We started on the phone, but this is kind of like when it feels like, oh my God, I can't breathe. That may not be a good sign.
Right. I love that. So many people would see it as, no, that's a great sign. Yeah. Me, he's the one or she's the one. Yeah. But I love this theory because it might be like, take a step back when that happens.
Just look. Let's be careful. Like tall, dark, and emotionally distant is going to wound me in the exact same way that I've been wounded.
Sandra, I feel this is beautiful because it equips people. No, it's true. It arms people with, this is a tool you could use because, listen, I don't know about you, but I've been in the past, I've had that surge. And guess what? Wasn't right for me. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, me too.
You learned the lesson.
I know.
And it's beautiful because we have a psychological information, theories to back it up.
Yeah.
It might not be the right thing when you have this coup de foudre, as they say.
That's exactly what it's called. I love that expression.
Yeah, coup de foudre.
So I'm glad you're mentioning that because I want you, we sort of ended up here, but let's talk about the dopamine for a moment so people understand it's a neurotransmitter that adaptively is there so that you couple with someone quickly. That's what they believe, and so you could procreate, but that's where they feel that's the adaptation of having dopamine. But it is the crack cocaine of the brain. It is like very heady, very exciting. It's like you can't breathe. It's unbelievable, and you feel like you can't live without the other person.
Yep.
And everything in the relationship is wonderful at that point. You're finishing each other's sentences. 2 years later, you're saying, why does he keep interrupting me? Okay.
Yeah.
It's quite an intense experience. You have to be very careful about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dopamine is an excitatory neurotransmitter. And what happens is it sends messages to the rest of the body. And that's it says it's a kind of self-explanatory. It's excitatory. So you have a racing heartbeat, you have hypervigilance, you have all of this stuff is very exciting based on this dopamine. And if somebody can cause this dopamine release, it's interesting to think about because that person might not be the good person for you.
Well, it's, and people it's fascinating, the research on this, because I'm sure you've seen this in your practice too, is like children of alcoholics often fall in love with alcoholics over and over and over again. And they say, but I didn't know he was an alcoholic. But your unconscious mind knew something. Yeah. It felt like home because there's personality traits that show up over and over again in addicts.
Yes.
So it felt like home. And that's why there's this thing, repetition compulsion, that you can end up with the same relationship over and over again, which is why, coming back to looking for love, expert Anna Maria Tosco is that I also say people have to earn their way out of a relationship because if you don't find, she likes that.
Love that.
If you don't find what got you in trouble in the first place, you're going to have a nice dopamine rush again, but he's going to look, he or she are going to look different, smell different, be different. You're ending up in the same place. Do you agree?
Absolutely. You are doomed to repeat the same fate.
So we got to figure it out. So tall, dark, and emotionally distant, I had to figure that out.
Yeah.
Although he is tall and dark.
But
he's cool. He's cool. But I had to also, part of the wound is also to work on giving to yourself. That's another whole other episode that we'll get to.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's again, mending the hurt, watching that is not, you're sort of saying, Anna Maria, to bring also, like, the one thing we know also about is when we're in this dopamine rush, that all our fear centers shut down, meaning we're not as afraid. So we're all, it's very interesting.
Love that.
Actually. The fear centers shut down, but they come back when the dopamine starts to flow.
Yes.
You're saying take a step back and check. Just like I started the show on, take a step back. Do you really want to exercise? Take a step back. Is he really what I want? So in the extreme example that he's on the phone, and it clearly is a very extreme example, I think that would be pretty obvious to most people. But in that example, he wasn't on the phone, but he was looking around the room and not really paying attention, but he was so cute. Maybe you have to bring in your neocortex, the thinking part of your brain, and go, he wasn't that available tonight. He's cute, but right?
Exactly. It just listen, truthfully, it sucks sometimes because the dopamine rush is just so good that you can't get your analytic brain on board there. You can't get your prefrontal cortex to kind of help you out to sort it all out, because the dopamine is just so good, as you always say.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good. So I want to ask you, if you were to give one piece of advice to people who are dating or struggling today in their relationships, what would it be, Anna Maria Tosco?
If you are ready, call yourself out. It's this idea, I think you talked about it before, this sense of responsibility, the sense of I am not getting what I want. I need to start calling myself out. You need to start analyzing that behavior. You need to start realizing when your insecurities come into play. And it's really cool when I love giving behavioral experiments in reality. I say, hey, okay, this is your homework. You're going on a date or you're online dating. Let's talk about your behavior. So if you are hesitating before sending that email, if you are not making eye contact, if you are talking too much or not talking enough, I'm not saying that you're a bad person. I'm saying that you might not be, your insecurities might come into play. You might not be getting what you want.
Okay. So if I want to get what I want, I've got to also, this comes to something I say, I think, if I understand you right, you tell me, is I got to make sure my love relationship with me is okay. Is that true? Is that fit with this? Is that where you're going? That I got to check in? Or is there somewhere else you want to go with this?
I think we both know that your relationship with other people is really more about the relationship you have with yourself. So if you are minimizing your needs, if you are bypassing what you want, you will attract people who will do that.
Yeah, a woman called me this week and she said to me, she was thinking about coming to the women's retreat this weekend, and she said, is it really true that I have to love myself before I can have a love affair? Is that really true? Is that just something therapists say? And, I'm glad you're agreeing, because I think it's mathematical equation, the Risch equation. I came up with it a few years ago, which is that the love outside of you is directly proportionate to the love you give yourself. Even in my marriage, when I'm not loving myself and I'm neglecting myself, who suddenly is neglecting me?
I love this.
It's the oddest thing.
Of course. Well, let's talk about that for a second.
Yes, please.
You train other people how to treat you.
Oh, yeah. Say that again, Tosco.
So you train them. So in other words, let's pretend that you decided to ignore the fact that the person across from you is on the phone.
Yeah.
What message does that send? You keep doing things like that over and over and over again, they'll bypass you and they'll bypass your needs in the same way that you are bypassing your own needs by not saying anything. It's really interesting. It's actually not a complicated equation. It's not a complicated formula. You will get what you give yourself. Like, you will get back, how you're feeling about yourself. If you're feeling small, the person will, minimize your needs.
That is exactly right. But if I'm a listener, I'm going, how is that possible? I don't get it. But you're 100% right. But why, if I make myself small, how would that affect the person across the table? I don't get it.
Well, let's talk about that. So that example from before, you decided to not say anything and you allowed that person to be on the phone while in your presence or while you were supposed to be engaging. Let's say you do that over and over and over and over again, which people do. You are training them how to treat you. They'll be like, well, I'm on my phone. Meh, she won't care. And they'll do it over and over and over again.
You know, I'll go so far as to say that by the time they come into therapy, a lot of the people who have done this, and they then tell their partner to get off the phone, the partner is outraged. How dare you?
Of course.
Because that's the thing with boundaries. If you've let someone violate your boundaries for a long time, and then you suddenly put a boundary, oh my God, I get a lot of partners saying, who is this new therapist you're seeing? Like, what the, we're putting an end to that right away.
Isn't that such a topic? When you discuss boundary formation or forging new boundaries, that you ruffle other people's feathers.
Yes.
That's what you will do. It happens all the time.
Yes, but you know what, Anna Maria? You'll ruffle them in the long run. They'll be even more in love with you. Have you? She's excited.
Oh no, that's brilliant.
So true.
Yes.
First they'll resist, and then they'll respect you.
Exactly. It's so funny. We always talk about respect, and we say, listen, if you do that, I know it feels counterintuitive. I know you think that by saying, hey, get off the phone, please, or hey, I thought we were maybe hanging out. I'd really appreciate it if you dropped your phone. You think that they'll hate you. You think that they won't like you anymore. But the truth of the matter is, you keep doing that, and you'll actually get more respect, more appreciation. They'll value your time even more. It's so interesting.
It's fascinating. It's human nature. Yeah. Human nature is so fascinating because at first when you put the boundary, the person's going to say, what's your problem? Who do you think you are? Yep. And ultimately, if you stand firm in your boundaries, they're suddenly looking at you with more love, more respect, more attachment.
Yeah. And, I have to mention, Sandra.
Very good.
Yeah, Maria. It's beautiful. Yeah. But, of course, when my clients are engaging in this work and they're doing this work, I just want to acknowledge that it's not easy. So at that time, when they decide to put their boundaries down, when they're forging these boundaries, it's really difficult because they are facing their fear. They are pushing through.
And you will be tested.
Yeah. You'll be tested. So it's so easy to fall back, and that's okay. It's not an ultimate failure. You are working to a larger goal. I just want to acknowledge the fact that it is super hard when you start doing it. But man, the payoff in the end,
huge.
You're going to get ultimate respect.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's so hard, and I'm glad you're saying it. It is really hard, and I would even go one step further. I would say it's so hard that don't even do it till you're ready. Yeah. Because if you put a boundary and then you back down, unfortunately, you've trained someone to not take you seriously. So once you put the boundary down, you have to mean business. So you have to kind of almost fake. I remember, I was a bartender, and
I love these stories.
I was a bartender, and it was a pretty rough crowd. So they'd come into the bar, and
Did I ever say? I think Sandra served me a drink once. I'm not even
really?
saying. No, I swear to God.
Oh, anyway, that's so
funny.
We'll
get into that later. But
I had to fake it till I make it because there were some tough people, and I was not a toughie, but I acted like I was, and it worked. And I put my boundary you can't talk to me disrespectfully, unacceptable, and inside I was shaking. But it worked.
Oh, beautiful.
It worked.
Beautiful.
And it does work. So you have to take yourself seriously. We're back to the fact that what you get outside of you is directly related to what you give yourself. We seem to be in strong agreement about
absolutely.
that. So if you want love in your life, I guess there's no question you have to love yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
No question.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, maybe a very quick, because we're running out of time. What does it look like to love yourself? I'm going to give one and you can give one. Loving yourself is go through the day and ask yourself, every behavior you do, is this an act of self-love or is it an act of self-hatred? When you eat, when you take that cigarette, when you don't take time for yourself, when you don't go to the gym, whatever it is, when you give yourself a break because you can't go to the gym, talk to yourself nicely. What for you, Anna Maria, are acts of self-love?
We'll talk, this is probably for another show, but decrease the critical voice. In other words, you have to be more compassionate.
So even if you don't go to the gym, it's okay.
It's okay.
You'll try again the next day.
I got to tell you, Sandra, if I was sitting on the committee for the, diagnostic statistics manual and we were, making another treatment for anxiety, I would put compassion right at the top of the list, because so many people judge their feelings, they judge their symptoms, and it's not okay. You have to have more compassion for self. I know this kind of sounds, like fluffy, but it's really not.
It's actually huge, and I'm really glad you're saying that. We're at the part of the show where we like to talk about what's going on for you, what's going on these days at the center. So let's talk for a moment about how people find you. So you do work here at the Montreal Centre for Anxiety and Depression. You also have the blog.
Yes.
You want to tell people how they can find the blog?
Yes, of course. www.sassypsychologist.com. You can sign up for our newsletter. We're having exciting things happening in the fall. We're going to release a podcast. And we're also going to release self-help Homework with such a catchy title. I don't want to give it away right now. We're very excited about it. So that's coming.
Have to have you back to discuss it.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And now what about you, Sandra? I'm here with all of these beautiful posters.
Yeah.
I'm sure your listeners will be so curious.
Well, the posters aside, we actually have a summer series. Robert and I decided actually it would be a good idea to offer something to the public now at this time of year. And we're starting off with a bang with sex. Aha! Sex! We have a sexologist who's joined the team, and she's giving a talk actually next Wednesday. I believe that's the 15th. I'm looking at Robert, at 7 o'clock here at the Brunswick for $14.99.
Very cool.
Can't beat that.
No.
10 things that you may not know about sex and sex therapy. Should be an interesting event.
Who doesn't want to come to that?
Oh,
Can I come?
exactly.
Can I come?
It's going to be a fun one. And we're following it up with many other series, including positive psychology, coaching to reach your goals. And we are offering all sorts of package deals at incredible prices, very cheap. And just if you want to come out for a night and improve your sex life, improve your vision, become more successful, give us a call at 514-777-4530 or go on the website helpforanxietydepression.com. Anna Maria, we have 30 seconds left, and I want to take them to say, I love when you come on Straight Talk. You are just incredible.
It's a blessing to be here, Sandra Reich. I'm so, so grateful. We have such a good time.
So fun.
Yeah.
And thank you for being a part of the first filming of Straight Talk.
Of course.
And to be continued. So for everybody listening, keep your eyes on the stars, as I always say, and maybe this week, keep your eyes on also your unconscious mind. Is it saying the same thing as your conscious mind? We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. We hope you've enjoyed today's show, and we'll tune in again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. Now, go live your best life.